It's me, Tunji, again from Ceasar Graphix. So I have designs I'm going to critique today. All right. So let's start. Going forward, what I'm going to be focusing on is what every designer needs to watch out for. So if you send your designs in for me to critique, I'll tell you what you need to avoid and what you need to train yourself more on. All right. So here, all right, I noticed that the contrast here is too much. All right. There's too many things calling for attention at the same time, and that affected the flow of assessing the information on the design. All right, the lack of not using contrast well is going to kill the hierarchy part of the design. All right, and part of what we use as designers to project our contrast well is scale. All right, scale, perspective, proximity, all right, and hierarchy. These principles that I mentioned here now, they don't work without one very important element, and that element is the white space. And that's what this designer did not play with well here. The elements of design, they are not supposed to be used amateur, like people who don't understand design use it. You don't just use the elements when the information on your design is not asking for it. All right, there must be a reason why you use the elements on your design. The reason why you are using type on your design is to make the design talk to the audience. The reason why you are using illustration on your design is to create something that draw people's attention to look at the design. The reason why you are using color on your design is to evoke emotion. The reason why you are using shape on your design is to create a picture. All right. So I'm going to stop here. There's more I can share with you guys, but I'm going to stop here on that. So let's go straight to what this designer need to watch out for. So first is the contrast. All right. Now, whenever you're working on design projects, okay, and you want your contrast to be more stronger, please always allow room. Okay, always give room. When I say room, I'm saying allow more white space. All right, allow more white space around your contrast. That's number one. Then number two is you don't use element that does not pass a message. Every time you are using a shape or you are trying to construct an icon with the use of the elements, make sure that icon, all right, serves a meaning. Like there's a picture that it forms. You know, I mentioned before I critique this design that the shapes are what we use to create a picture. So when you are putting the shapes together, you are supposed to use them to create a picture and not just put them and just create something that does not serve any purpose, that does not have any meaning. Now, I'm saying this here now because of this. I don't understand why we have this. And in graphic design, all right, when you are adding elements that are not really serving any purpose on the design, what those elements are going to do to the design is to take away from the design. All right, it's to take away from the design, and this can kill the success of the design. So I don't expect you to have, you know, this here. The next thing I think you did not do well on the design is the playing with scale. And scale, most time, is what we use to control the movements, the eye movements, how we make people find it easy to navigate through the information on our design. It's like when you start a car, you know, when you turn on the ignition, the next thing you do is to change the gear. Then after changing the gear, you accelerate. And that's the same thing that applies to graphic design. Your contrast ignites the calling of attention to the project. The gear is the next thing that people see on the design. The movement, where when you accelerate, is the next thing that you want people to see on the design. But when you don't make your placing of the elements come in a sequential form, you are not going to help the project. So my advice to this designer is please go and learn more about contrasts, hierarchy, then proximity. Yeah, there should be proximity. Understand the use of white space. Okay, because it's what we use as designers to create rest. All right. If I'm talking to you guys now and I'm making and I didn't stop, it will get to the point where I'm going to faint. So when you don't allow that making people rest, looking at your design, it makes them run away. And aside from, making people run away, the people who can pay you well, you are not going to make them contact you, because nobody wants to give their job to a designer who is going to stress them or make them waste money. So please watch out for these three. There are the other principle of designs are also important, but these three, please make sure you make them available on your project. Never play with them. Every effect you apply to your design, they always have the message they pass. If you look at this shape here, you'll see that we can see this bevel effect around it. You don't just apply bevel effect to your elements when there's no reason why you are so to do that. Most of the time we do this bevel effect around our shape is when we are trying to depict button. And here, the information here says minimum of 200K. I don't expect you to use the bevel effect. It's like a button. So why you having the button effect there? The fact that you know how to use the effect does not mean you should use it. And I want every one of you to take note of this. You use the effect when it is necessary. The last thing I'm going to say to this person is there's the part of using value. All right. Okay. So the fourth one is also value. All right. Value is also part of the design elements. So these three here are the principle of designs. Then white space and value are the elements of design. So I noticed the lack of using value the right way here. And I'm saying this here now because if you look at this illustration here, all right, the value of the color. Now, when I say value, I'm referring to the intensity of the color on your elements. If you check the value of this element here, you will notice that it's similar to your background. That affects the visibility of this, and then you now make the project look dull. The reason why we use the word background, because if I ask this designer that why do we have this here, I'm sure you're going to tell me this is your background. The reason why we call background is because it needs to be at the back. The reason why we call foreground is because it needs to be in front. But when you now make your foreground look like your background, you are going to twist the message. You're going to change the message. So this element here now is looking like the background because it shares similar value in terms of the strength of the color on the element. Another thing you need to watch out for is when you play too much with your background like this, you're going to affect the making the content on your design visible. I want to share one small trick with you guys here. When you notice you have too many elements, too many information on your design, please limit the way you play with your background. When your background is loaded with too many playful effects and you now have too many information on the project, I'm telling you, the project is not going to be successful. Your background is what shape the way you place the element on your design. When you don't take note of the look of your background, the effect on your background, you are going to destroy the project. All right. So I want every one of you to take note of that. So let's go straight to the next design. So I like this design because, it's bright. I can see the character, but this is also dull. And I'll tell you why this is dull. Here, the composition is not there at all. And what I'm going to advise this designer to work on his next project is to also work on making your contrast balance. All right. Making your contrast balance. Yeah. I know some of you have not heard of this before. Aside from contrast, we also have what we call the focal point. Now, the focal point is always the tool. It's always what we use to drag attention to the project. It's always, in fact, mostly the images on our design. And when you don't have image on your design, you can use your title to create the focal point. You can have more than one contrast on your design, but there's a strategic way of doing this. When you make everything shouting, like you make everything drag attention, you are not going to help the project. So here, the making of the logo here big is not always professional. Please avoid making logo big like this on your project, because, you know, guys, nobody cares to know about any brand unless the brand is a popular brand. So when you're working for an organization that is not really popular, it's not always advisable for you to make their logo big, because when you make the logo big, it will look as if the focus is the logo. And nobody wants to see the logo. Even professional brands don't make their logo big. So why are you now making brands that are just growing? Why are you making their logo big? You're going to send people away. Nobody will care about the brand. What they want is, what are you going to give us? It's the same way you have people following you on social media today. The reason why so many of you have lots of followers on your social media account today is because there's something they want to get from you. And that's the same principle that applies to how people get involved whenever you do designs. What they want is, okay, how is this going to help me? Never make a logo this big again. It's not always good. All right. Then the other thing you need to work on is you also need to learn the use of white space so that you can help making your contrasts balance. All right. Help your viewers use white space the right way. Go learn about the use of white space. All right. And the other thing you also need to learn is balance. When I say balance, I'm referring to how you align the content on your design, how you make them, you know, align well. Okay. Do not use too much of flush left, flush right, center, and like that. Make them align. Never have, you know, the way you have space here, this space here, this space here, and then this here, and like that. No, make them align, because this is another tool. Balance is another tool that we use as designers to create contrast. I stressed this last week, and I'm sure if you go check the last week video, you're going to learn what I said about the use of balance. So you need to go and learn about balance, learn about hierarchy. It's very, very important. Now, when I say hierarchy, I mentioned it on the previous design, the controlling of the high moment on your project. Now, if you notice, for those of you that don't understand what I'm saying here, now look at what this designer did here. If you look at the size of this text here, it's closer to what we have here, here, and here. And that's not how to help your viewers. You know, you place the element on your design the way you have people on a queue. You know, when you're on a queue, you'll notice that there's always somebody on the front line. There's somebody behind the person. Then there's somebody behind that person that is on the front line, and like that. And if you stand in front of these people, you will notice that the person on the front line always look bigger to you. The person that is far from the person on the front line looks smaller. So the same way we have how things appear to you in real life is the same way you're going to play with hierarchy on your project. All right. So learn about that. And I believe if you can work on it, it will help you. And another thing I think you can do to help yourself is you can watch my other design review videos and hear what I mentioned about how to play with all these things. Well, I believe it will help you. Then the use of elements that are not really necessary. Please avoid it. Don't use this. All right. Please don't. Then the other thing you also need to work on is allowing space between your letters here. All right. This is good in design, but this is another tool. This is another style that we use to create contrast. When you now make it too much, all right, when it's too much on your projects, it's not going to help the project. It's going to destroy the project. And that's why I'm always correcting designers that design brochures or magazines, and they now use this justification where they make the text in the text frame fill the frame of the text. I'm sure so many of you are used to it, where you have, let me just quickly draw it so you guys get what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. So if I click on this justify left now, all right, you'll notice that, you know what, I'm going to make this bigger so you guys can see. Now look at this. You'll notice here that I'm having this space here. All right. You notice I'm having the space between this, all right, is wider than the space between space that we have here. It's also wider than the space we have here. It's wider than the space we have here. This is wider than the space we have here and here. And this is not really okay. So I always correct designers to avoid this. If you notice, now there are some fonts, there are some characters that when you apply the justify left to the body copy, it will fly. But there are some characters that don't support it. So when you apply it and you notice the character you're using on the project does not support it, please turn it off. And this is that button here for those of you that don't know it. So this is it here. So when you notice it's not helping, please go back to this and continue your project. This is still better than the previous one. All right. So take note of that. Okay. So that's for that. And let's go straight to our next design. Yeah. So I like this project here, and I like the focal point, all right, and I like the contrast here, and then the controlling of the eye movement. Okay, and I'm going to share why this is successful, and I'm also going to advise this designer to please keep it up. All right, although I notice an error here, but I'll correct the designer. Okay, now look at this, and this is what I'm teaching you guys about white space. The reason why we can see this, all right, clearly is because the elements are not really close to it. There's enough space, all right, around it. Okay, there's enough space around it. And if you remember, I explained to you guys that when you're using shapes on your projects, use it to create a picture. And that's what this designer did here with the use of rule. All right. He used one of the design elements, which is rule, or what some people call it lines, to create a shape that creates a picture. So for those of you that don't know the concept here, all right, what this designer just did here is a billboard concept. So if I draw this here now, you notice that it looks like a board. All right. So what he did is a board. Now, the fact that I didn't put the line here does not mean there's nothing there. There's something there. And that is the reason why the elements align to each other. All right. So when you are putting the shapes or lines together, just know you are trying to create a picture. That's how to use it. You don't just use it because, okay, man, I just don't want my project to look too flat. Okay, let me just put it. No, you use it when you are trying to create a picture, which is what I mentioned previously. And that's what this designer did here. And another thing that this designer did here that really helped in making the contrast more stronger is placing his title, all right, on a bright background. So he used a value, colors with colors that carry the opposite value of the background. You'll notice the background is white, and this here, all right, if I'm going to convert this to black and white now, you'll notice that this will come in form of gray. And I'm not talking of light gray here. I'm talking of dark gray. Let me show you guys what I'm saying. Look at this. Can you see that it's in form of gray? So because we have this value of gray here, it made us see the information on the project easily. So when you're trying to create contrast on your project with the use of color, please make sure you use color that that carry the opposite value of the elements that you place on your background. All right, that's for that. And I also like the use of repetition here, where we have this effects around the circle here, but the designer did not play with it well, because the use of shapes is another way we create contrast. And why I say this person did not do it well here is because I noticed that the way we have this fill, this color behind this, or the shape behind this character here, is different from the way we have it on this person. And then I noticed we don't have it on this person. So now this is making me ask a question, which is also what most viewers would do. Like, okay, so why is this person not looking like these two people? Why is this one not looking like these two? All right. So how you now help your viewers is you need to let them understand why. How do you make them understand why? You need to write something about this person here. It can be maybe the guest host, and this can be the host. You know, when we're working on design projects, what we do is to help our viewers. And that's why when you are placing the elements on your design, you have to make it balanced. If you notice that something is changing your message, please quickly fix it. All right. So this is not really helping the repetition here. In fact, it's even changed, it's getting me confused. Now, some people may not really notice it, but for professional sake, please always take note of this. All right, please, because most big brands, these are the things they check. These are one of the things they check on your projects. Okay, please. So let us know why this background here is white. You can write host on it. All right. And for this, maybe you can just put something to let us know why the stuff is different. But there's another thing you did well here, which is also the use of repetition. All right. And that is the area of repeating the same gradient map on the characters here. All right. So that's one of the ways we use repetition in design. I know some of you might have heard of repetition before. That's one of the ways we achieve repetition. And this is another repetition here. The color we have here, this gradient color we have here, is also what we have here. And repetition is also part of the principles of design. All right. So for those of you that don't know about it, there are so many articles on the internet that you can read that will help you with understanding how to use repetition on your project. Then the other thing I think you did not do well here is, please, when you have a black text, never place the black text on a pattern gray background like the way you have it here. It's going to affect the flow of reading this. It's not good. It's going to make it difficult for people to see this. Now, the reason why I'm saying this to you guys is this, because I know some of you will say, oh, man, Ceasar, I can still see it. We are in a world where people are not ready to waste their time stressing themselves. People want to quickly understand the message and go their way. All right. It's like the way so many of you watch soccer. I'm talking of people who love to watch soccer here. You'll notice that whenever you're watching soccer, what you are always ready to see is for them to score a goal. You are not always ready to wait and see one player that is holding his leg. In fact, if your opponent is holding his or her leg, crying like he's wounded or is going through pain, you will start complaining like, oh, this guy should get up now. Why you are saying he should get up is because you want to see a goal. And that's the same thing that applies to how people access the information on our design. People don't want to waste time trying to solve, okay, why is this one like this? No. But there's this part of making them stop, which is creating the unexpected, making them want to get involved. And you do this with the use of the right illustration that they don't even think of seeing such moves in a design. All right. So that is that for this. And again, I'm going to say good job to this designer. This is a beautiful project that you did here. But take note of those things I mentioned. And I'm sure if you work on them, my brother, you do, or my sister, I don't know who did the design, my brother or my sister, you are good to go. All right. Yeah. So let's go straight to our last design for today. This says start small continue big. So I just want to teach you guys something here. All right. I want every one of you to know that typography is also used as images. In fact, type is another image in graphic design, is another illustration in graphic design. Okay, so if you want to use type the right way, you have to make the type do what the title on the design says. So here we have start small, and we have start small, continue big. If we have start small, I expect to see small look small. In fact, there's another way you can also create contrast on your design, because if everything on the design looks big, all right, now starts is okay the way it is. Okay, you know what I'll do? I'm going to make a copy of this so we can see the before and after. Okay. So yeah, so this is still better than this, and I'll break it down. All right. I don't expect to see small this big, because like I said, type should be used like the way we use images on our project, and I'm sure every one of you can agree with me on with the results that you're looking at on my screen here. So the reason why I decided to make the small red is because the small word, the word is small. So in order for the contrast to balance, in fact, I would even prefer to also make the name here in order to make the contrast more stronger. So because I made this small, and red is one color that, you know, people see very well from afar. In fact, if you want to call attention to any small information on your design, red is one very good color that you can use. So, and that's the reason why I decided to make the small word here red in order for it to draw attention fast. And what really help the contrast more stronger is because we don't have any other color on this project that carry more contrast like red. So when people see this, trust me, the first thing they will see on this project is small, because every other letters on this project here share similar color. So because red is the only color that is different here, it's going to draw attention fast. So I hope you guys get that, and I believe that going forward you guys will start using type like imagery on your projects. All right, so that's it for today's review. Thank you. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you like this video, kindly give it a thumbs up. If you have anything you want me to know, or if there's anything you want to share with me, please, you can drop it on the comment section. And please, guys, remember to share this video with other creatives. If you have not subscribed, remember to hit the subscribe button. Remember to click the post notification bell, because I'm going to be posting more tutorials like this for you guys to watch. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.